Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode of Real Talk Chronicles. You are you have the pleasure, I'm going to say this, of getting to spend some time with our very own Dr. Marilyn Corder. I love this time of month because I love it when you're here. I'm actually going to switch our view back to this one so we can get a nice close up of you. So thank you so much for your time. I know we caught you in the office, so we truly appreciate it. And we're going to jump right in. But first, I just want to ask you, how are you? How have you been doing?
Well, actually, I'm okay. I'm still at the office, as you have stated already. I been busy. Today is Monday, and then we have a day off this week, so everybody's trying to crowd in, talking about everything from vaccine, go back to school, physical, sports physicals. The flu is out, respiratory virus is out. So we have sickness. I do telehealth. We have well folks. We have babies being born. So it's like everything hitting me, but it's all good because that's my area. But I also
Mhm.
very, very excited to be on this evening, as I am if every time I'm on Real Talk Chronicles, even if it's me just as a guest, me just as a call in, etc. Because I enjoy educating and at least having some dialogue and updating folks. Of course,
Mhm.
I do a radio show every Saturday, and that's helpful as well. We did veterans. This Saturday, we honored the veterans because guess what? This week is Veterans Day. And I tell you,
Right.
every day needs to be Veterans Day because they
Yes.
they have given their lives. Some have come back without limbs. Some have come back without, you know, a brain injury, without their.
Mhm.
Well, as many of them that's undiagnosed have come back with PTSD,
Yeah.
and people have to understand and be very tolerant and caring. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, we're not. And, we just complaining about traffic and complaining about, what you're going to eat for dinner. Meanwhile,
Mhm.
the pits, they're in the, out there, every other bullet, is they're ducking. So we just need
Mhm.
more cognizant.
It's it's interesting that you mentioned that because I often say people they complain about like the silliest things to me, just random stuff, and I always say there are so many people out here who have worse problems than us. So like
Right.
you say, someone who has lost a limb, because they were at war or what have you. Imagine that, imagine getting up like that. I have a cousin who lost her eyesight a
Mhm.
number of years ago. She has an illness and I think about her often, and I don't get to spend as much time with her as I would like. But
Mhm.
just little things that people seem to take for granted, and we always say, Bill and I and my mom and I, we always say, "Thank God for another wake up." As long as we can get up and put our clothes on and start the day, everything else is all right. We're not going to worry about anything else.
Because it seems like my most recent activities, more than not, have been invites to funerals. And I'm like, okay, these homecomings are getting
Hmm.
frequent.
Hmm.
Homecoming
Hmm.
every day. And of course, I'm getting up in age, but each and every day I'm grateful and thankful. And, life is going to have its ups and downs and its little hiccups, but we have to be grateful. And we have to understand that, be aware of your blessings and celebrate your blessings. And this is Thanksgiving coming up, because
Hmm.
next time I talk to you all, Thanksgiving will be over. So we're going to give thanks. Thanks
Right.
here. Veterans Day is here. You may be a little bit broke, but you know what? Um,
Right.
before you go spend money you don't have for Christmas, do something nice. Kind acts are valuable and they go a long way. Baking,
Yes.
making something,
Mhm.
writing out something for someone. And that's, or doing a chore, taking them to the grocery store. So those are
Yeah.
acts from the heart and gifts from the
Mhm.
heart. And
Exactly.
I guess I'm so full because this past weekend I spent with my best friend from second grade. Uh,
Mm.
and I'll just say her name, Dr. Tapp. She lives
Mhm.
in, and I grew up together. We've been second grade friends, and that's a long time. I've been in medical school 40 some years, so that's a long time. And she happens to be a pediatric dentist. It's fun. I said, we must have loved our childhood because I'm a pediatrician. She's a pediatric dentist. But she had major surgery. And once I
Mm.
like I have to be there. I mean, she has a husband, grown kids, but I was there, and she had
Mhm.
years when I trained back. I got on the train yesterday to get back into DC, and she said, um, she said, "I'm just so thankful," and I'm how she put it, you didn't have to come, and I said, "Oh yes, I did." I said
Mm-hmm.
because that's what sisterhood and friendship is all about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Woo, that goes a long way. Look, this conversation could take a hard left just on that topic alone.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
we interesting. We both know a lot. We all know a lot of people. And
yes.
I always say that, we show love and kindness in different ways.
Hmm.
And it's not always reciprocated, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that we're going to stop. We're going to continue to do exactly what we do no matter what. So you don't do to expect something in return.
Right,
Not at all. So,
right, right,
yeah.
right.
Mhm.
For sure, for sure.
I just want to take a second to say hi. We have some of our faithfuls popping in. Stefania, it's always good to see you online. Hello there. We have Lanier. We have Mr. Giles, also known as Cheese. Lennox Bailey. Hello. Felicia. Hey, Felicia. Nice to see you. Cousin Pinky Tuscadero, Deneen, and Vivian. Hey,
Oh,
Viv.
buddy, I'm recognizing some of these names. All right.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're all excited to have you here, Dr. Corder. But so yeah, thank you everybody for chiming in. I'm sitting in for my partner in crime this evening. He took the evening off, so we won't talk about him too bad. I think he deserves it.
Yeah, good old cut deserves it. But
Mhm.
yes, we can handle our business right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. He asked me earlier. He's like, "So what do you want to talk about?" I'm like, "I don't know." I mean, there's so many different things to chat about that's going
Well,
on in the world.
so, so again, what we're doing, I'm here in the DC. As a matter of fact, I'm here literally in Washington, DC, as we're sitting in my office.
Mhm,
And one thing that we did this past weekend, as we celebrated the vets, we talked about um, what they go through. And we had a psychiatrist, and he just mentioned that sometimes you won't even understand or you don't understand. And that's why veterans are very, um, I won't say they're secretive, but it's a real bond. And that I appreciate that. And as I
mhm,
do physicals, I have a contract with the Department of Defense to do the physicals for both those who are going into the service, Naval Academy, Armed Forces, et cetera, ROTC. And I thanked them from the beginning. I'm like, you know
mhm,
what? This is able, to me, that is their way of giving back already. And I always ask them, I said, you have people in the service and your family. Some do, some don't, but it's a
right,
calling. It's a calling. It's a major sacrifice. So again,
mhm,
that's 11:11. Even though some offices are closed and
right,
people are off, but don't just be off in vain. Be
right,
for a purpose.
mhm,
Off for a
mhm,
purpose. So many
mhm,
people are homeless, and many of them are vets. Many of them,
absolutely,
and neglected, self-neglected. First of all, or their families may not understand them. So I'm gonna give
mhm,
a salute to our heroes, those have who gone ahead already. My dad was in the service. He fought World War II. He transitioned later in life at age 75, but I
mhm,
always respected my father for what he did for us, for our country. So America, they
absolutely,
are free. Uh, we want to make
right.
sure when they come back that we let them know we appreciate them for having us still maintain freedom.
Exactly. You touched on quite a number of things, but also in terms of the theme of giving and with Thanksgiving coming up, I have
Mm.
to tell you, when I lived in New York full time, this is actually before I met Bill. During the holidays, I would volunteer sometimes. I always come back home to see my mom, but I would volunteer at the shelter to serve meals. And I
Yeah.
have to tell you, Marilyn, that was one of the most gratifying things I have ever done. And, as I'm walking by with the tray and, just making sure they're okay. Towards the end of my shift, I remember one gentleman asked me, "You coming back next week? You going to be here next week?" And,
Oh,
it really touched me because I knew I was just there for that one day, for those few hours. But I got a lot out of it, just being there. To me, it wasn't just about, serving, but it was just spending time and just having a brief conversation just to, make someone feel like they're valued and appreciated. Just a simple conversation. So that's definitely something that I'm going to consider doing again, because it's like you said, it's the holidays aren't about gifts per se, especially at this time in life. Like, who cares about gifts,
Okay.
right? It's about the experiences that we have. So
And lastly, before we move on, one of my guests on my show said and mentioned that there are different wars, Afghanistan, well, the World War I, World War II, Vietnam. But then one of the guests said, and I was just recently in the war, January 6th.
wow.
They brought in veterans, they brought in service folks,
I know.
and I'm like, and we lost 5 people in total from
Yeah.
the police. So that was serving your country, trying to protect um, terrorist
Wow.
Americans. So I'm like, wow, that really hit me. And that happened right down the street here from my office. But anyway, so we can move on. But that was something that took a lot of, I had, it took me aback a minute. And that was this,
Absolutely.
that was this.
Absolutely. And that's Bill's birthday. So we sat here on his birthday in complete shock
Right.
that day.
Oh,
Never thought we would see that, and definitely don't want to see that ever again. No.
right.
Mm-mm. So you mentioned diabetes
Yeah.
earlier. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely something I would like to talk to you about. I know a little bit about it. I know a few people that have it. But feel free,
Well,
share.
just a few, I guess, maybe about 2 hours, 3 hours ago, I was seeing my last patient. And one of the patients weighed in at 300 pounds. Yes, I'm a pediatrician, but she gained weight. Now she says she's going to be a cheerleader. I'm like, well, already. Now,
Mhm.
so that sounds funny. Diabetes, people call it commonly called, I got sugar diabetes. But guess what? Make sure you know that it's not about eating sugar. Your
Right.
body breaks carbohydrates, that bread, that muffin, those pastas, all of that, all of the biscuits, it breaks it down to glucose. And if it
Mhm.
cannot handle the glucose, to break it down, and that means your insulin can't handle it, then
Mhm.
you become what we call a diabetic. It begins as the glucose concentration in your blood, it
Mhm.
goes from head to toe. And what it begins to do, it aggravates certain organs in particular, one being your kidneys,
Mhm.
and one being your vision, one being your circulation. So commonly people will say, Uncle Ned is diabetic. They had to cut his toe off. But
Right.
circulation. Or they might say, so and so's kidneys, she puffing up, she's swelling up, so she has to be on what? Dialysis.
Mhm.
And because
Mhm.
which is a artificial way of helping your kidneys work by doing the filtration, meaning
Mhm.
it filters what your kidneys would otherwise do. It filters for it. But that's being hooked up for 3 or 4 hours at a time, sometimes 2 to 3 times a week, sitting in a chair, and sometimes dialysis doesn't go right or smooth. So, but
Right.
you find to a dialysis schedule, and that stops your traveling. It stops a lot of things, your social world, but it
Wow.
also, it means that you are already in what we call kidney failure. You'll hear folks say renal failure. That's called
Mhm.
kidney failure as well.
Mm.
And
Interesting.
you need to know that more than 4 million people are diabetic unknowingly, don't know.
Mhm.
Pandemic. I'm going to emphasize that was before the pandemic. So people haven't seen their doctors for routine. Folks are stressing out because we also had, in combination with our diabetics getting sicker, we also had obesity,
Right.
all obesity, not just childhood obesity. Everybody
Right.
that 19 put a lot of 19 pounds plus on our
Right.
body.
Mhm.
That's cardiovascular. Now, I'll say something else that we just learned about or were made aware. When I say we, the medical community. Now, we talk about heart attacks. Most of
Mhm.
us think heart attacks, the main cause of heart attacks is what? Hypertension.
Mhm.
Diabetes is the main cause of heart attacks.
Really?
Yeah. Now, of course, if you got high, really high, got to take your medicine, you could stroke and you can have a heart attack. But
Right.
diabetes, and we that you're like, what? I thought it just did the kidneys. I thought it just, you're swelling. It can also, that diabetic condition, glucose of 300 or 400 can give you a heart attack. So that's it in a nutshell. But people need to now, if your audience can write this down, and of course I will entertain questions. If they could write down hemoglobin A1C, the
Mm-hmm.
short for that is H, G as in go, B as in boy, capital A as in apple, number 1C, hemoglobin A1C.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's what you want every year to be done. Your blood draw. I
Okay.
do it for my 12-year-old patients on up. I don't care if they're big, little, short time. And
Right.
I'm surprisingly seeing that's your marker to tell you about if you're pre-diabetic. I'm surprisingly seeing a 30% of my patients becoming already pre-diabetic. You got McDonald's, you got all these places that they love to eat, and the sugary drinks, even though I said most of it's carbohydrate, but yeah, those sugary drinks can
Right.
well. So I don't know if there's any questions, but I'll let you ask some questions.
Yeah, I one question that comes to mind. I know someone who is diabetic, and that person recently stubbed their toe really, really bad. And their foot has swollen up, pretty bad. So we were just talking about it and, trying to figure out, because they're diabetic, should they go to a doctor to have it checked out, or just kind of like ride it out and see? I don't know. You hear things, and I've often heard that people who are diabetic, when they injure themselves, it may be, worse than someone who is non-diabetic.
Because
So,
population. So as I said, when you are diabetic, if you take any solute, any particular, maybe even glucose, sugar, and you're trying to take it through a straw, it gets backed up. Well, when
mhm,
you're diabetic, it's like syrupy, and it literally doesn't flow as well. So
mhm,
your extremities, such as your hands and your toes, are circulated by itty bitty capillaries. That's a big word for blood vessels that are small.
mhm,
When you stomp your toe, or when you have a sore, because I thought you were going to tell me about that, the
mhm,
the healing process has been affected if you're diabetic. So
mhm,
people will say if your sore don't heal, or you get ulcers, or your toe, the circulation in your toe. The reason many people unfortunately have
mhm,
to have amputation, it starts with the toe, then the foot, is because
mhm,
that area becomes not only ischemic in terms of lack of blood flow, but then it becomes dark and you can see the circulation, and the skin becomes dead. And when
mhm,
that gets infected. So
mhm.
what we have to do is cut that area off before it continues to go up the person's leg, etc. Any
Interesting.
you mentioned, that's inflammation, but the healing process that ordinarily folks would go, their bodies would go right to it, the swelling, etc., is delayed and affected. So they
Mhm,
should, and the reason they should go is because they need to get it evaluated. They may have to soak it. They may have to debride it. We call it debriding, but to make sure that it's healing, to look at the tissue, because it can become gangrene. I mean, that's a big word we use, and we still see gangrenous
mhm,
tissue. So
mhm,
if you hit your toe, and the other thing for women, a lot of times yeast, or something called yeast. Now, some people
mhm.
get yeast anyway, no big deal. But if you're having frequent infections and yeast infections, all of a sudden, check your glucose, check your
Mhm,
hemoglobin A1C. The
mhm.
glucose checking is different. You cannot eat for 10 hours and test your glucose. It'll
Right.
be, but the hemoglobin A1C, instead of a random glucose, hemoglobin A1C will tell you what your glucose is being reflective over 3 months. It's like your report
Right.
card.
Mhm.
So,
Interesting. So I'm gonna pass that on to my friend, because in my opinion, I thought that they should
right,
just go, right?
right. Even if they go to go to urgent care, what we call, urgent care, because then they can feel and make sure it's the temperature there is not cold. Because there are things that we look for as we evaluate the efficiency of the blood
Mhm,
flow in the area. So it's
mhm.
not color. Of course, the swelling can be a sign, but
Right.
also
Right, right. Thank you for that. I have to give a couple shouts out. Ruthie, I see you. Roshawanda, I see you. Mark, it's good to see you as well. And Colin. Vera Foster. I know I hear Bill every week say he loves that last name. We love the last name Foster, and Kevin. So thank you all for tuning in. Our talk with Dr. Corder is always valuable. Excellent information. I feel like I should be taking notes, but what I do is I just sit and listen to it all over again later and take my notes from there. I have to tell you, as you know, 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with hypertension. And, it was something that it's like, did that really happen? But I was literally sitting at work and all of a sudden, the room was just kind of spinning. My hands were shaking out of control. And, little did I know, there I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. So I spent about 4 days in the hospital and have since been very diligent taking my medication. But a lot of people said to me in the beginning, well, I didn't share it as much in the beginning, but little by little, people would say, "Oh, you got to watch the salt. You got to," and I've never been a salt eater. Just like, that wasn't me, but it's just something that happened. It's definitely hereditary. And I just said, okay, this is what I have to do. But, the thought of taking a pill every single day, I was like, I don't want to do it.
Right.
But you got to do what you have to do, and the whole thing is it can sneak up on you. So, I was thinking about in the beginning how you were mentioning all the different things that you do. And I'm like, your list is long as my, like, it's not the same, right? The content is totally different, but my list is like so long. And I felt myself like creeping back into that space. And I said, Malika, remember what you told yourself. Don't overload your schedule. Don't put too many things on your plate. How do you handle it all? How do you juggle a trillion different things and still keep it all together?
I don't even. We'll be here for the next 30 minutes that I do, but I enjoy medicine. So that is, even though it's my career, my job, it's not really a job. I play with children all day. I educate, I talk to the parents, and I try to make a difference per visit, per patient. I do other things, of course, radio, I do TV, but I also do something that I'm so excited about. I'm a USA fight doctor. I am ringside doctor. I don't fight, but I educate, and I tell, we had 3 to go to the Olympics this past year, but it's young people trying to keep jail, trying to keep them out of trouble, and a lot of them from 6 years old, and I cover several of the gyms. So when there's a fight, they'll call myself. I even got my husband on board, but it's good to see them grow up. It's been now 18 years, and to see the little ones that were 7 and 8 years old with the gloves are bigger than they are to now being professional. So it's just trying to make a difference. I am busy. Soon I will be retiring or slowing down now that I have a grandchild and getting up in age, but I enjoy. The key thing is that if you like what you're doing, it doesn't appear to be a job. It's more avocation. It's just more helping folks. And I do this. And, one thing about doctors, especially doctors that look like me, we go and go and go. We take a lick and keep on ticking because there's an obligation, as we took the oath, to do as much as you can for the village. And that's why I'm excited when I even do Real Talk, because I'm reaching folks that otherwise I would not be reaching. They're not going to be on my charts on the wall. They're not going to be in my electronic medical records, as well as what I do on my radio show. I'm even talking about certain things nutritionally. I feel like I'm a naturopathic doctor through the back door. I went to Howard Medical School, and I feel that is much of a community site to have the education at Howard. But I'm also, since then, very much aware of naturopathic medicine. And we don't have to write prescriptions all the time. And if we can just begin to take charge.
Love the fact that you say that. Like, say that again for the people in the back, please, because most doctors, there's a script for that. Here's a script, take this pill.
When they came out with these, and I guess that's been now 20 years, because I remember, my God, I finished med school in 78. There was no such thing as a commercial saying, tell your doctor to write this. Not those medicines, that's driven by big pharma. big pharmaceutical company. And when they say that, and then they say, tell your doctor, and they show people skipping and, dancing and doing all these wonderful things. And then at the end of the commercial, that's where you need to turn the volume up. It will say this medicine can cause sweating. It can cause visual disturbance. It can cause dizziness. It can cause suicide. It can cause death. But yet tell your doctor to kill you. And all I say to that is be careful. And, I know we have to write prescriptions. I get that. So the side effects of your prescription, one thing. And also when you go to the doctors for whatever he or she is writing, say to he or she, okay, doc, this is what I have now. Tell me how I can reverse it. They're going to, you're going to blow their wigs back because no one asked that question.
Right.
To know how changes makes a big difference. It's called medicine. So.
I have to tell you, you reminded me years ago, I used to teach in Philadelphia at night. So work during the day, teach a night class. And I'll never forget one of my students, he confided in me that I think he was having marital problems and he was just really depressed, problems at work, problems everywhere. And his doctor, someone prescribed this medication for, the depression and anxiety that he was having. And he told me that he was starting to have thoughts of, killing his family or committing suicide. I mean, I'm just a young Black guy. And you know how you feel like the hairs on your back to stand up? Because, I had never heard anyone say that. At that point, I was still young myself, and I just didn't know even what to say. And but I just told him anything that makes you feel that way or have those thoughts may not be something you should take. You may want to get a second opinion. That was just my gut feeling, because then I'm also thinking, gosh, I hope he's not having thoughts of coming in and shooting his night school teacher. He probably left that part out just because I was standing there in front of him. But it's a real thing, that's the side effects of some of this medicine.
It can change. I mean, it can make you derange different medicines, especially the behavior health medication. So, of course, we don't have church. We have church, but it's not like it used to be, going in person and have, and that has caused a lot of sadness and depression. Not to mention domestic violence is high. As I said, illnesses are high because they can't get in and see their doctor. So it's rough times. But again, as much as you can begin to go back to, I call it back to nature, get your water, get your natural, eat your vegetables. Sounds boring, but it really helps your body correct itself.
So yeah, the other member of my household who I know is listening right now, he needs to hear "eat your vegetables." I'm still after 6 years. I'm still working on that.
Well, give him some kale chips. You have to be creative.
Marilyn, wait, my mom says that because I love kale, and my mom always tells me, "Yeah, give him kale, make him kale chips."
Right.
He will not do it. He will not do it.
Well, my patients, of course, I can't tell Bill because he knows otherwise. I tell my patients they don't eat vegetables. The mom is going to bring them back, and I'll give them a vegetable shot. And they're like, "Oh, now let me think about this." Okay.
I never even knew that existed, so we may need to consider it. Exactly. Just don't tell him. Tell him it's vitamin C.
That's right.
I just want to read a couple of comments that we have. He said hell no to the kale. So, we can kale as long as it's in chicken, right? You know how they was like baked chicken and stuffed spinach or something like that. And there
we have some vegetables in there. Yes.
Exactly. I got to come up with a way to do it. So Vera said about diabetes. She said diabetes, AKA the diabolical, is a sneaky disease. Most people are in denial when diagnosed. Very true. Our friend Colin Clark. So Colin said he was diagnosed with diabetes in 2004 and developed kidney disease in 2014. I was on dialysis for 7 years and lived my best life over the past 2 years with my A1C. He said his A1C has been in the area of 5.
Woo!
Yep. However, since my kidney transplant, he just had his transplant September 28th of this year. It says it has jumped to 6.2 because of the anti-rejection meds. I'm also now on insulin temporarily,
Right.
And during dialysis, I traveled the world and did dialysis wherever I went. So happy. So
Yeah.
happy.
We have these anti-rejection medicines, sometimes steroids, etc. It will take your not only your pressure up a little bit, also will take your need for dialysis. But that's a great story.
It is. It really is. Colin, gosh, we love you to the last time I saw Colin, we were actually literally dancing in the streets this past summer. So when he let Bill and I know that he had his transplant, we did a happy dance for you, Colin. So
So, same note, I'm part of MOTEP, which is Minority Organ Transplant Program, and Dr.
mhm,
Clive Callender.
mhm,
Please know him. He's about to turn 85, but Clive Callender was the first doctor of color to do actually, doctor in the DC area to do a kidney transplant. I was in medical school and we did, and what you end up, you get a donor. Sometimes it's somebody who was just in an accident or what have you, or so. And I've had kidneys transplanted in my patients that they still have the kidneys, and it's just a wonderful thing to
mhm.
begin to see someone who has been on dialysis, then who would get the kidney. And it's miraculous. I mean, to me, I'm so touched when I hear someone, with a kidney, a transplanted kidney. I have one of my patients, my parent of my patient, her son was born with kidney failure and pretty much congenital kidney problems. And
Mhm.
she was the donor. The mother donated the kidney. She matched, of course,
Wow.
you take a mother, and it was a perfect match. And now it has been 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Thank God.
yeah. And for a while, as a teenager, he was acting kind of stupid and hanging out. Except the mother said, "Look, you take care
Right.
of my boy."
Exactly.
But he's doing well, and she's doing well. And you only need one kidney, obviously.
Right. Right. Oh,
So,
that's a beautiful story.
right, right.
Mhm. All right. So, Brother Bill, he always pops in with a question. So, I see, Bill, I wasn't going to put you on blast about this foot. So, I was actually referring to him with stubbing the toe uh,
Right.
and the foot being swollen. So, he said to ask you, how can you tell the difference between a break or a sprain when it's swollen? So,
So it all depends on where it is. And when I say that, you have, even with a sprain, it's tender. All right.
hmm,
So if you jam it, let's say your finger, often people have a broken finger and don't know it because as it healed, it got swollen or stayed the same. But with the toe, you can have, since we have so many bones, all right, in our toe, you can have a little displacement. I tell folks to soak it first, to watch it. After a couple of days, the tenderness should get less and less versus the same or more.
okay.
With the sprain, some people will put their foot in an orthopedic shoe if you can get that to slow down on the mobility.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So
So, go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Bill.
go on and get an x-ray just to make sure.
Yeah, I kind of think that's going to be the next thing. He's Superman.
Sometimes we take that cape off and just become regular old Joe Blow with a swollen foot.
You don't know how many times I say your name in this household. I'm like, I'm gonna have to call Marilyn and ask her.
It's, look, I'm the threat for lots of families. Call Dr. Corder. So just go ahead, use
Exactly.
me.
Exactly. So Colin said, "Go and see the doctor. That's how you will know. Don't become a Facebook doctor." So true. Norman Davis, he said, "My man, you letting your queen? Yes, I'm the queen. He's letting the queen run the show tonight. I'm filling in, and I'm very happy to be in this seat." Bill said, I'm not going to get an orthopedic shoe."
He's too cool. Okay.
It's way too cool. He has these fly Converse he's been wearing lately. I don't know. I think I'm saying it right.
Just
Different.
I'm doing telehealth, telemedicine. Your cousin will be able to diagnose by phone. Just send me a picture. I got you.
There you go. I teased him. It was honestly like 2 o'clock in the morning when he showed it to me. I'm like, wait, you showed me this big foot at 2 o'clock in the morning? Like, I had to tease him. You know?
It's all right. I'll look at your foot.
So wait, I go into mother mode and I grab the pillow. I'm like, we
Right.
gotta get some ice on it. And he's just looking at me like, yeah, I just want to go to sleep right now.
Okay, so
Exactly. Hi, Kim, Cherie, and Curtis. Colin said that they make them fashionable now. Bill, we will get you a fly orthopedic shoe.
right. It'll be
Don't even worry about it. Yes.
the new style.
Exactly, exactly. I want to ask you about the booster shots because I know that a lot of people are getting them, and there's different things that are they're coming out in the news right now. And I have to tell you, the other day I started counting back on my fingers because we received our second Moderna shot in April, so like early April. How do we know when it's time to go get the booster? Like,
So
yeah.
the first rollout was for folks who have comorbidities, just like in the beginning. So
Mhm.
no matter how old you are, you can have somebody with asthma, you can have somebody with lupus, you can have somebody with multiple myeloma, different conditions. You can have somebody with a transplant. You can have somebody. So those are folks who, as we know, you can have breakthrough COVID, just like Colin Powell. You can have breakthrough
Yeah.
COVID. Um, and you don't want that because your immune system for the COVID that's still around, the Delta, XYZ, whatever the variants are now, and that booster continues to give you that, I call it that boundary, that layer of protection.
Mhm.
So, we're still trying to get folks to get the vaccine, let alone the booster. But
Yeah.
most of the folks who receive the first two vaccines are interested in getting their boosters um, 6 months out, 8 months out.
Okay.
Never too late. Let's say you want to wait for a little longer just to see if you still can have a little bit of that immune hanging around. But now with Johnson's the one and done, they're saying get a booster. All right, they
Mhm.
don't have the Johnson booster, so it's going to be the Moderna or it's going to be the Pfizer. My son came into the country; they just left, but he got his vaccine, his two, first and second, because where he lives in the Philippines, he couldn't get the vaccine. Only
Mhm.
percent of the people can get the vaccine. So
Only how many?
30% is not that many. It's very short. The stock, they don't have that many. Like right now, we're rolling out to the 5 to 11-year-olds and the 12 and up. They don't have it like that. So
Hmm.
a lot of the places are very limited. Haiti, a lot of the places don't have vaccines available.
So do they have the same that we have, like the Moderna, Pfizer? I didn't think so. Theirs is totally different. I
And
don't get it. Yeah.
sometimes, so he came and got the Pfizer here. It's like, hey,
Right.
it's like home when you need a vaccine. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Hmm. It's things we just don't have the answers to, but it's like if we know it works, right? Why isn't the entire world using that? Not to make Pfizer or Moderna, rich, but
Right.
whatever formula they have, share that so the rest of the world. Because I think I just read that the United States is about to reopen international travel to vaccinated people. So
Right.
I don't know. I have a lot of feelings about that. Yeah.
And a lot of places are very strict. When he and his family went home, they left, but they had to go to a hotel for 10 days at his cost, quarantine, and then recheck their status. So everybody, including the baby, had to go and be at a hotel. What we shuttle from the airport. They don't play. They get your butt on the air. You don't Uber
Right.
home and say, "Oh, I got to grab something." No, you go
Yeah.
from the airplane to a shuttle bus to the quarantine hotel. They bring
Right.
your food. They bring all that. The hotel was
Right.
beautiful. It had everything from wash and dry kitchen, and then
Hmm.
10 days. I think it was 8 days for some, and they test you again. So they just became free like 2 days ago. They got to go.
Wow.
They've been in Manila for almost 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh. Wow. You
So
think they'll ever consider moving back home, the whole family, or does he love it so much over there? I'm praying on that for you. I
they
am.
feel like, they're gonna come back in April for 4 or 5 months. So, it is what it is. I see them by Facebook, by
Right.
Zoom every day. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have Let them live their life.
Yes, I know. Oh gosh. Norman Davis said, "Why are so many men of color not going to the doctor?" Uh, I don't know. I have to tell you, Bill definitely does. He has another appointment tomorrow, so definitely didn't mean to insinuate he doesn't go because he does. We were just joking about that one topic, but I
Mm.
can't speak for why a lot of men don't go to the doctor.
And when they do go, finally, it's because something's hurting, something's
Right,
crazy, and then I call it the. It's more than just something small. It's usually the blazing fire of whatever their illness is.
right, right. Yeah, very interesting. Kim Cherie Clemens, she said, yes, she said, just had a kidney transplant and have to wait 6 months, including the flu as well.
Right.
So, congratulations to you, Kim Cherie. So, she has to wait 6 months
Right.
before getting the shot. Okay, gotcha. Interesting. So Norman said, I do know that depression is real and mine is from the job, and I was scared to ask for help.
Right.
Whew.
Because they'll label you. What's interesting? If you do it on the job, there's some programs they'll label you, and But talk to your doctor. Talk to somebody because there are lots of avenues you can go. But
Mhm,
depression, everybody has blue days. We all do, and
mhm,
days around now because of what's going on in the pandemic, economics, etc. But you can pull out of it. Matter of fact, my son is a counselor, a psychologist, and we were talking about that not long ago. That now, even with increase in sadness, depression, suicide among teenagers, it's like 30% increase, and then among seniors, and then among veterans, and then among it's like everybody has ticked up. So, I think that certainly there are days that you just don't know where you can't go on, but you can. And
mhm.
Dr. Lawson, one of our colleagues, you can. And and I always tell my patients what seems like monumental, what seems like, oh my God, I'll never get past this. 2 or 3 days, 5 or 6 days, 3 or 4 months later, you look back and say that wasn't so bad, and I did
Mhm,
make it through.
mhm.
I made it through the storm. So we want just survivors, and it just makes you stronger.
It
You know,
definitely does. You know,
look, life is gonna throw some shit at you. Excuse me, but you
yeah,
just have to take it and say, okay. It's
yes.
however way, be it the devil is busy or God got something big for you. Because if all this craziness is happening, you must be special. Because they go to, but you, but you know what?
I have to tell you, I really think that I think there's a huge misconception about people who are depressed. Like you mentioned, we all have blue days. I have a few friends who have shared that, they are depressed and go through those times a lot. And I often think just from what they're saying, I feel like they don't think other people such as myself or, you know, get depressed or have days like that. And that is
Right.
so far from the truth.
Absolutely.
So far.
And we need to share that. We
Hmm.
tell them it's going to be up days and down days. That's life.
Hmm.
You know?
Hmm.
And if you say you never had a sad day or a bad day, you're lying.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And when you live alone, like there may not be anyone around to see it. This is new, right? Me, I'm used to just living alone and dealing with it just over the phone with my mom or whoever, someone close enough, to share. But we may not even have that because even if you have like a huge circle, that doesn't mean those people are all in the inner circle where you feel comfortable enough. And you know, I I have often said to myself that I do want my friends to know it's not just about, hey girl, did you see that show? Whatever. Like I want them, and I feel like I'm going to express this tomorrow, but I want them to know, like, we can talk about anything, anything at all. And I want to feel comfortable enough to be able to share that, yeah, I'm just really having an off day. And this is the reasons why. But it's hard to talk about it sometimes. Sometimes you can't even
And
communicate that.
there's a commercial, and it's about a young lady who's finally saying to her friend, I'm sad. I have a blue day. And the friend is like, okay, let's go get some pizza. I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
they're saying it, and you're just not hearing it.
Right.
So you want, and then finally, it was a little scenario, but finally the girl said, are you listening to me? So we have to
Right.
listen and look at some cues of what's going on. If that person is withdrawing and they're sleeping,
Mhm.
they're eating a lot, and they're just not themselves, then just kind of ask, how you doing?
Mhm.
Letting them know that you're there for them.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's okay. And we all have a choice with how we deal with it. So I always say, "Oh, I'm putting a time limit on this," because you can feel when it hits you. But
Right.
it's like
Right.
not letting myself go the entire day feeling like that. So
And,
whatever it is you have to do to bring yourself up, do
right.
it. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, Norman said he didn't want to be judged or looked on as weak, and it's like we said, it's about having that comfort level.
And stereotypically, you know what we say? Ain't nothing wrong with you. Take it to the altar. You can take it to the altar, but you also want to make sure you're taking it to somebody professional to bring you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just keep searching for that right ear, that right shoulder, because they definitely are out there. Um, Stefania, I'm gonna read your question in 1 second. Norman said, "This time of year, we need to check on each other." Absolutely. Curtis said, "From a man's perspective, oftentimes we don't want to hear bad news and convince ourselves we can get through it on our own. Well, the older I got, the more conscious I became, and will go to see a doctor before anything gets worse."
Good,
Definitely.
good for him.
Smart, very smart, Curtis. And yes, now is a certain time of year. It's all year round, but especially the holidays, it gets worse. I have to tell you, with the clocks going back, I'm one of those people where it's
You
hard for
lose.
me to even like understand why does this happen twice a year, and I know I get on my mom's nerves. Like, Mom, so wait, are we losing an hour, gaining? Is it going to be dark or light? I don't know why this is the weirdest time for me. Like, I was coming out of Lowe's yesterday, and it was only like 4:30, quarter to five, and it was dark already.
Right.
And my first thing is like, oh, I gotta hurry up and get home. like, like something's gonna happen to me because it's dark now.
I
But
know that. Whoa.
yes, yeah, what is that movie with Will Smith? I Am Legend. Is that the one with him and the dog? Yeah,
Right.
it's just weird to me. So I'm conscious of it and just trying to stay active. And I know nothing's going to happen or anything like that, but it's just so weird for it to get dark that early. Am
I
I
know.
the only one? I mean, you guys can chime in and tell me if anybody else feels that way, but it's strange.
Hmm. Yeah.
Strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Stefania had a question. We're taking a little turn, and I know we only have a few more minutes left, but uh, she says, Dr. Corder, what can I do to treat a raised scar?
Interesting.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if it's a keloid raised scar or just regular scar tissue. Something called bio oil. You can get that. Go online. It's really a nice oil, and it will begin to break down scar formation to a certain degree. Some people put hydrocortisone, which is Cordaid over the counter, to 10% hydrocortisone on it. I don't believe in those bleaching creams, but what happens with scars is over healing, and it's your body has a natural uh, a gift of healing anyway. And sometimes it overheals. It's like, okay, an extra band aid that makes it a scar naturally. So it all depends. If it's a surgical scar, then that sometimes can keloid more than other scars. But I would want you to do bio oil and also a little hydrocortisone, blend that together. And you might see, and just dab it on once or twice a day and see how that does after 2 or 3 weeks. Of course, if make sure it doesn't get any worse, but and just take a picture of it, and then after doing that a couple of times, then take another picture and see if that helps. Sometimes the bio oil breaks down the scar formation as well.
Excellent advice. Thank you. All right. And then Kevin said, I was one that didn't like going to the doctor or talking to my men about health. Once I was diagnosed with prostate cancer at the age of 55,
Wow.
by a simple blood test. The doctors were able to catch it before it could spread. I make my mission, I make it my mission to educate my male friends that a simple blood test can be the difference between life and death. Tell Bill to get his PSA test. Yes, he definitely gets tested for that. I think
Hmm.
that's what his dad passed away from, prostate cancer, I believe.
Hmm.
So yes, Kevin, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for sharing that with us. So important. People shouldn't wait. Don't wait until the building's on fire,
A
right?
blood draw can save your life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Teresa said, "I agree, doctor. I use it on my knee surgery scar."
Oh,
So
okay.
very good. Wow, we've hit a lot. We have hit a lot in a little bit of time.
Unrehearsed. Okay. We just threw some things out there.
Totally unrehearsed. Totally unrehearsed. I have to tell you, I just, I love you dearly.
Like,
It's always just a pleasure just to sit and listen. I mean, your knowledge and just your openness and willingness to share, and the fact that you take the time, not just here on Real Talk Chronicles, but your radio show, the other things that you're doing, it means a lot. And all people have to do is listen, right?
yes, yes.
Listen and take heed. So we truly appreciate you. I
Thank
can
you.
go on and on about that, but we just love and appreciate you, Dr. Corder.
You can just
Um,
call me cuz I'm here for you guys anytime.
yes,
Um,
yes.
and actually, it's funny. I was going to also say lots of things I'm now doing is CBD, from CBD coffee. That's not THC, guys. CBD coffee to anti-inflammatory. So one show I'm just going to talk about it all the time from head to toe, how it has helped the village. And Sanjay Gupta, Dr. Oz, and many of us are talking about it even before you can get your medical license renewed here in the district. All the doctors, thousands and thousands of us, had to take a course, 2 credit course in CBD. It has been,
Really
oh yes, yes,
interesting.
yes.
Are you just going to dangle that out there and leave it? Leave it
So maybe I'll come on next week. Maybe I'll help whoever. I may have to talk, because I'm telling you, it is healing. And that's when I'm healing the village, all ages, with CBD.
Interesting. All right. Yeah, we need like a whole show just on CBD.
Oh, yes.
Seriously. Yeah,
Okay.
people need to know that. I think we can arrange that easily.
I do. All right. That works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. We truly, truly appreciate you. Dr. Corder, cuz we love you. We will, and your radio show. Yes, your radio show. Saturdays.
Every Saturday, 3 to 4. And it's on Radio 1, 1450 AM. It's called Radio 1, WOL, 1450 AM, live 3 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. And the show is called Dr. Corder with Village Talk.
Perfect. Love it. All right. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
All
Bye.
right. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Bye.